In this video, I'm going to be looking at 5 more manga that stand out to me for having really incredible art. This is a follow-up to my last video. Once again, I'm going to be talking about manga that I feel are a bit underappreciated and I feel like have not been read by the majority of manga fans. Most of these manga aren't incredibly obscure or anything, but I do think more people should know about them and read them, and I'm just using this video to highlight and recommend some manga that I feel like have artwork that is really unique and really stands out over the average manga. The first one I'm going to start off with is one that's very well known, more for its animated film, but I've noticed not enough people have read the manga, especially considering how beloved the film is, and that's going to be Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind by Hayao Miyazaki. It's really a shame that the manga isn't read more, considering how acclaimed the film is. This was really the film that put Miyazaki on the map as one of the best directors in anime, especially just coming off of directing the Lupin III Castle of Cagliostro film, which was also a huge success. This put Miyazaki on a whole nother level of renown as a director, and really set the tone for all the classic films that Miyazaki would do with Studio Ghibli following this film. The movie is an undeniable classic, but what many people don't know is that the movie only tells approximately half of the original story. Nausicaa was one of the films with the best characters and plots that Miyazaki has ever done, and the second half of the story told in the manga is every bit as good as the first half that's portrayed in the animated film. If you aren't familiar with the film, a quick rundown of the plot is that the story takes place 1,000 years after a conflict that destroyed the majority of civilization on Earth, as well as creating a sea of corruption, a toxic forest inhabited by gigantic insects and filled with a deadly miasma that will kill anyone who inhales it. The Sea of Corruption is constantly growing and spreading throughout the earth as its spores are carried by the insects living within the forest. Nausicaa is the princess of the Valley of the Wind, one of the few human civilizations that are still left. She has the ability to communicate with the insects that live within the Sea of Corruption. She hopes to find an understanding of the Sea of Corruption, and she hopes to find a way to help humanity and the creatures that live within it find a way to coexist together. This eventually leads to conflict when soldiers from the kingdom of Tolmekia come to the Valley of Wind with the intention of destroying the Sea of Corruption using the same technologies that destroyed the Earth 1,000 years before. And there's a bit more to it than that, but I gotta get back to the art since that's what this video is about. Miyazaki's artwork in this manga is incredibly beautiful and extremely detailed. He builds unique, beautiful, diverse environments filled with an array of incredibly designed creatures and vegetation. The Sea of Corruption is a standout part of the artwork. The forest is filled with bizarre plant life, giving it a look that's a cross between a prehistoric jungle and something that's completely alien. There was also great creature design with the insects that live within the forest, mainly the gigantic trilobite-like ohms that are the main creature that Nausicaa deals with. Between the unique plant life and insect life, Miyazaki creates an entire diverse ecosystem within the manga with all the style and charm that you are used to seeing in his Studio Ghibli films. There's also a lot of great architecture and technology that are typical to a lot of Miyazaki's works. The Valley of the Wind is a really beautiful place with gorgeous buildings and nature all around. This manga is a rare case of having must-see art as well as a must-read story. This manga to me is one of the rare 10 out of 10, 5-star out of 5-star manga, and definitely one of the greatest of all time in my opinion. And my next pick is a manga that I avoided putting in my list the last time I made this video since I just talked about it in my Iyashikei video. But since it's my favorite manga of all time, I couldn't pass on it again. So it's going to be here in the list, even though it's not really that unknown and it's very high rated by the people who have read it. I do think it should be read by more people. And it's going to be Aria by Kozue Amano. I'll try to be brief since I've already talked about a lot of the reasons why I like it in my Iyashikei video and try to keep it focused on the art. Just a quick rundown of the plot. It takes place in the future on a terraformed Mars, where Mars has been made inhabitable for human life and much of the planet is now covered in water. It takes place in the city of Neo Venezia, which is modeled after Venice on Earth. The story centers around Akari Mizunashi, who comes to Neo-Venezia in order to become an undine, which is a job that consists of rowing around tourists in a gondola and acting as a type of tour guide to them. It's a position that is somewhat of a symbol of the city and is like a highly respected and sought after position that's pretty hard to become. So the story focuses around Akari and her friends entering into an apprenticeship at these various companies and documents their journey of becoming an undine and them discovering the wonders of the city of Neo-Venezia. And I don't even know where to begin with the art in this manga. It's just absolutely gorgeous in every way imaginable. Every location of Neo-Venezia that is depicted in this manga is drawn with this incredible dreamlike quality to it that I've never seen in any other media. The way that Amano draws the architecture of the city with all the water surrounding the city and throughout the canals looks incredibly beautiful and almost otherworldly. I love the way that Amano draws the sky and the clouds, and the way that she draws water is incredibly beautiful. The way that she draws the water and the reflections of the sky and clouds off of it. Even though the city is based off of a real life city, the city still feels like its own unique world. It doesn't really feel like it's modeled after a real place. Amano manages to build such an incredibly beautiful place that I was seriously in awe every chapter I read, just staring at some of the pages that she draws. I'll put some of the images on screen so you can see it for yourself, because my words can't really do it justice, and you really have to read the manga to get the full effect. But her art is really incredible. The 2-page spreads especially are some of the best that I've ever seen in any manga. With these you could see larger views of the city where you could see a ton of very intricate details and beautiful architecture, and these wider shots of things like the harbor around the city that show off Amano's skill with drawing water. I mentioned the dreamlike quality that the artwork has, which is one of the most striking aspects of the artwork. She somehow gives an effect to her drawings that makes them shine. She somehow constantly is able to make her drawings have this type of effect. I think it has something to do with the way she uses her shading and some of the lighting effects of how she has an almost glow around the edges of a lot of the structures and uses these effects that are kind of like lighting, bloom, or sparkling kind of effects that give the images a look like they're almost glowing or shining. It really enhances the dreamlike feel of the artwork. I've really never seen artwork that looks like the artwork that Amano draws, and she's definitely one of my favorite manga artists. And when you couple the beautiful art with the extremely positive story and characters that are in this manga, it really makes for one of the most uplifting and memorable manga experiences you could ever have, and that's why it's probably my favorite manga of all time. And moving on, we have another manga that's written by one of the greatest directors of all time, and that's going to be Opus by Satoshi Kon. Satoshi Kon was such a great director, certainly one of the greatest of all time, and even could have an argument for being the greatest of all time. So it's no surprise that his work as a director completely overshadowed his work as a mangaka, but he was also a pretty great manga artist, and has definitely made a number of manga that are also worth reading. One of these mostly overlooked works was his masterfully crafted manga, Opus. A big reason why this manga went under the radar for so long was that it was serialized in a magazine from 1995 to 1996, and 2 chapters before the manga was set to finish, the magazine went under, and the ending of the manga was never published. Unless you read the manga in its original run in this somewhat obscure comic, you never would have had a chance to read this manga. And even if you did, you wouldn't have the ending. That is until many years later, in 2010, after Kon's tragic passing due to pancreatic cancer. An unpublished ending to the story was found in his possession, and it was released along with the previously published chapters in 2 volumes. I'm going to refrain from getting too deep into discussing this manga because actually I've been planning to make a video about this manga. So to keep it brief, Opus is a metafiction that centers around a manga artist who's creating the finale to his manga called Resonance. As the conclusion of the manga plays out and is being written by this manga artist, the characters using the powers of telepathy that they have within the story, they end up becoming aware of their reality as characters within the story that this artist is drawing. They use their powers to break out of the manga world into the real world, or rather break out of the world of the story of Resonance into the story of Opus. This goes into a really cool story of the manga artist interacting with the characters that he's created, and has to do things like answer questions about why he did certain things with the characters and had the story play out the way it did. There's a lot more to the story, but I'll save any deeper analysis on it for my future video on the manga, and I'll just get into the art since that's what this video is about. As you might guess, for its placement in this video, the art is definitely excellent. Satoshi Kon has a really good, realistic looking art style. The manga is full of incredible backgrounds and cityscapes. The backgrounds are incredibly detailed and have a very realistic quality to them. In addition to the high level of detail, his line work and shading give a real depth to the images. His characters also look great. They look realistic, and he's very good at drawing their facial expressions and showing the emotion in their face. And all those things are really great, but this manga also has one other thing that makes it really special and stand out from any other manga that I've read. That is due to the meta nature of the story. You get artwork that in a way manages to transcend the medium of manga, as the characters jump through the different realities of the world of Opus in the manga, as well as the world of Resonance, which is the manga within the manga. The characters move between the dimensions and break down the barriers of the panels and the pages. As the concepts of reality break down, the characters are able to move out of the panels and the pages of the manga and break into the real world, and the fabric of the reality in the manga warps and tears. And this allows the artwork to break out of the conventional manga style and break through the perceived limits of the pages and the panels of the manga. And this gives the artwork a really special quality that is in a way able to transcend the medium. And next up, I'm going to go with Appleseed by Masamune Shirow. I already briefly touched on this manga in one of my previous videos when I was discussing the 1988 OVA. This manga is pretty popular, but it is pretty overshadowed by Ghost in the Shell. But in my opinion, the Appleseed manga is far superior to the Ghost in the Shell manga. The story takes place in a future where the world has been destroyed in a great war, and out of the destruction left after the war, a new city called Olympus is founded. The city of Olympus was founded to be a peaceful paradise-like place where half of the population consists of artificial human bioroids and the other half being normal humans, but many of those humans are heavily augmented with cybernetic enhancements. The story centers around the two main characters, Daeun and Newt, who is a normal human with no cybernetic enhancements, and her partner, Briarios, who is a human who has been heavily augmented to the point where he is now over 75% machine. The story is about these two coming to the city of Olympus and eventually joining the East SWAT team and working there to fight against terrorists and anyone who would threaten the peace of Olympus. And of course, since I'm putting it in this video, the art in this manga is amazing. In my opinion, it's the best of anything in Shiro's career. It's full of extremely detailed cityscapes between the ruins of the old cities that have been destroyed in the war and the futuristic, beautiful city of Olympus. There's a ton of great art with a ton of beautiful architecture and pretty incredible locations. Even in some of the panels, the backgrounds just look really incredible with the cityscapes behind them. The entire manga has a really cool futuristic cyberpunk style that I really enjoy. Whether it's the mechs or the cybernetic enhancements that people have, there's a lot to enjoy for fans of that style. There's a lot of great action scenes and scenes where there's mech battles that look really awesome. The mechs and robotics kind of have that style that you expect from Shiro, as well as the setting. But in this manga, I think Shiro's at his absolute best in terms of writing a manga as well as being an artist. I definitely recommend checking this one out, and if you do read it, definitely pay attention to the artwork and take a look at the gorgeous backgrounds and all the locations that it shows, because they look amazing. And the last manga I'm going to talk about in this video is going to be Domu, A Child's Dream by Katsuhiro Otomo. This is a short one-volume manga that was created by Katsuhiro Otomo, who is best known as the creator and director of Akira. Otomo's manga for Akira also has really incredible art, and I consider putting it on this video because it is very overshadowed by its famous animation, and I feel like not very many people have actually read the manga, like which I discussed earlier when I was talking about Nausicaa. Akira also has a manga that's really amazing and actually tells a more complete story than was in the movie, but since I had some pretty famous manga in this, and I'm trying to keep it to a little bit lesser known, underappreciated manga, I'm going to go with Domu, A Child's Dream, because this manga also has incredible art in Katsuhiro Otomo's signature style, and this manga I don't hear people talk about hardly at all. It's completely overshadowed by Akira and kind of forgotten, so I'm putting this one in here to recommend this manga as well because it's also very good. Like Akira, the story focuses around people with psychic powers. In Domu, the story is about an old man who has psychic powers, and he uses his powers to control the people living within a large apartment complex. He uses his powers to control the people living within the building as if they were puppets, and has them do horrible things, and he torments them for his own amusement. One day a young girl moves into the apartment, and she also has very powerful psychic powers. They become aware of each other, and they square off in a psychic battle against each other. This manga is full of incredible art with a ton of amazing action sequences. The buildings and cityscapes are well designed and very detailed. The highlight of the art is going to be the psychic battles, where there's a lot of action and destruction and things getting blown up or thrown around with the psychic powers. The manga is the classic Otomo style that you would recognize from Akira and would definitely enjoy in this manga if you're a fan of Akira. The artwork and details in this manga are similarly amazing, and I definitely recommend you check out this manga as well. And that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching the video and hopefully found some new manga for you to read. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. I do have a third part planned. I might do another one with amazing art, or I'm thinking of maybe doing one with maybe less detailed art but with really unique, amazing art styles. So that may be coming out in the somewhat near future. And thanks so much for watching this video if you've listened this far, and I'll see you in the next video.